Bartholomew Town is brought to you in part by the University of Rhode Island Online, Navigant Credit Union, the Audubon Society of Rhode Island, Newport Film, and Half Street Group.
Bartholomew Town.
So we've been talking a lot about really just Rhode Island's position in film and television, especially, I mean, look, let's be honest about it. One of the buzziest things right now is the Real Housewives of Rhode Island existing. We broke that down last week on the podcast, how that came to be. We do a lot of work with Newport Film and in general try to profile Rhode Island's connection, broadly speaking, to the new media industry inclusive of film. And today we actually have somebody who's a born and raised Rhode Islander who's making serious waves in the film industry. And without stumbling over myself, I'll allow her to introduce herself. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on this very fun podcast.
And give us the executive summary of who you are so I don't make stuff up on the fly.
Okay, I will try my best. So my name is Manya Glassman. I was born and raised in Providence, Rhode Island. And after I went to Providence College, I went to NYU Grad Film. NYU Grad Film, I was incredibly honored to get in. It's one of the most prestigious programs. I think it's actually best in the world. I'm a big bragger for NYU. And since I've been there, I've always wanted to do filmmaking, but since I've been there, I started producing and directing and writing my own films. And the most recent film that I have is executive produced by Spike Lee. It's called How I Learned to Die, and it was shot in Providence, and it's based in Providence. And that is premiering at Tribeca in June. And so that is why I am here on your podcast today.
Absolutely.
And that's a short summary of myself.
Well done. Well played. Great elevator work right there. A true New Yorker in action. Look, I mean, this is an awesome film. I'm going to read the synopsis of it. I mean, I say that having not seen it, but just from based on all of the reviews and all of the synopsises that I've read. It's a coming-of-age narrative from the perspective of protagonist Iris, a 16-year-old girl. When Iris initially discovers she must undergo a high-risk surgery with a 60% chance of dying, she dives into a 4-day whirlwind of first kiss, first drink, first drive without a license. But it's the moments she hasn't planned for, losing a pet, seeing her parents age with fears and flaws that truly shake her. Where'd you get the concept for this, and what was the sort of initiation of the creative process here?
Okay. So the concept of it is based on something that really happened to me back when I was in high school. I was a freshman at a new school, Moses Brown, and doctors found out that I had a benign tumor inside of my third vertebra. And so I ended up undergoing, to this day, I mean, this is the real life story, to this day, 18 surgeries. But this film kind of takes place around one that was life-threatening, one of the more serious ones. And so what I wanted to do in this film and what has really, lingered with me that I feel is like relevant for a lot of people, even though this is a very specific situation, is sort of like when you're at that age and you start to confront your own mortality, like how does one do that at age 16 while also dealing with the pressures of high school? And like, because this is a comedy, there's a certain amount of, humor to being a 16-year-old girl wearing a neck brace at this new school with, popular girls, cliques, jocks. And so it's like you've got that world mixed with something that's incredibly life-threatening and serious. And so that is sort of the inspiration as a whole for the idea.
Wow. And that's an incredible experience, obviously. I mean, how else can you put it? How has that shaped your overall approach to your work, having such a daunting challenge, not just in this film, but in general? How does this inform your sort of artistic approach?
That's a good question. No one's asked me that before. Well, Bill.
Here we go.
It's shaped it a lot because, I mean, to this day, it's sort of an overused phrase, like live every day like it's your last, but I really do. And I really, like, even just this morning visiting home, being around the breakfast table, like I was looking at my parents and just internally soaking in the moment, even though everyone's doing their own thing, you know? And so on a day-to-day basis, like sometimes I'll be with, a friend and we're cleaning up the bedroom and I'm like, can we just acknowledge that like we're alive right now? And I don't think that people, often just take a moment and say that. And so that has a direct correlation to filmmaking for me because number one, like I want to make it and I want to make it now. Now. And so it's like I have an idea and I want to immediately get it on paper and write. Like I have like all my notebook with me all the time, and then it informs like what I want to make movies about too. And so I think that there's a place I love like every form of movie because it's someone making something that they're passionate about. And so following that track, like what I'm passionate about are sort of exploring these like life questions and making these life questions accessible for audience in an entertaining way as well. So how it informs my work is, in short, basically, I'm constantly aware that we could all die at any minute, and I want to make as much as possible in a meaningful way.
Mm. That's a really profound way of approaching any sort of medium. And it emphasizes the moment itself, the creative moment, the creative explosion. Like you say, the notebook's there, all of a sudden an idea flows. What's it like for you as somebody, you've now tapped into some pretty, we'll say early success and early um fulfillment, I would imagine, creatively. I mean, some people struggle for decades before they're able to kind of find the right zone. You seem to have, I'm not saying you've reached your full potential or anything like that, but you seem to have found a groove, found a zone working with Spike Lee. How do you process all of that and then continue to stay hungry and continue to kind of use that, hey, this could be the last day of, for a number of reasons. One, we could see the earth just go away any day now, it seems like. But on your own personal level, how do you keep it going? How do you keep fueling momentum like that? Because it can be exhausting as well to approach the world with like this could be it type of mindset.
Yeah, that's another good question. Um, well, on the career basis, like, I mean, this is just only brushing the surface. This is a 20-minute short and like I mean, I basically see it as step by step. Like the next step is to make the feature of this. And then after the feature to make another feature. And although, I have like the creative lens on it of writing and I have all these ideas, like it only becomes possible when, you know, uh an investor or a production company, like they are interested and they can make it possible. So it's not always so like I mean I wish it was like, okay, I've got this idea, I've got it written down, like let's go, let's just make it. And so the kind of goal once I feel like okay, you know, I'm on a roll here would be once I really form those relationships and then I'm in the process of making feature films. But like I said, it's step by step. And right now, like I've just completed the step that I internally acknowledge, like, this is where I should be, and I'm on to the next. And so now relating it to that mindset, like, first of all, constantly acknowledging, I mean, people, especially in capitalism, just it's hungry for more and more and more and more. And a lot of people don't realize until the end, like, oh wow, I was exactly where I needed to be long before I even realized it, you know? And so I think having that internal acknowledgement constantly is really important. Even if you're not where you want to be, just the fact that you're like living and breathing and moving and all of these things. But to the exhaustion point, I think that I mean this is like a philosophical thing in life, but like I really see exhaustion and pain and sadness. Like, if here's happiness, exhaustion, pain, and sadness are also right here. It's just it's parallel, just on different columns, you know? And
Yeah.
so I really try my best, like, when I am feeling that to still embrace that as well. And so, like, if you're having a night, like, put on the sad music and just, like, be in it, and, like, cry and, like, scream at the wall and, like, let that be the night, because that's still a form of being alive and is still a form of, being grateful for life. So,
Yeah. Put on the sad music. What a phrase right there.
yeah.
Totally.
We've all got probably, like, the song that we put on, or maybe not, maybe I'm just depressive at times.
Yeah,
But
I'm there with you. I think it's
yeah.
I think it's a universal experience. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, no doubt about it.
Mhm.
What's it like being a Rhode Islander? There's this thing.
Mhm.
Rhode Islanders, I don't know. I want to see this culture change tremendous, like completely flip on its head, but I don't know. Being an artist growing up in Rhode Island, it felt like there was both a lot of opportunity here. There was a lot of like really interesting things happening in Providence for sure. Even in other places that you wouldn't expect, whether it's, I mean, you would expect Newport, but Newport or whatever, or all around the state, I found little pockets of energy, of things to collect to try to understand the world the best I could. But I mean, I had to go to New York. Like I had to get out of here and go to New York and be there for a decade to have any sort of sense of like, okay, I'm establishing the footprints of a career, not only from an industrial side, but also from an inspirational side, from a mentorship side. So as a Rhode Islander, what do we need to do to make it so Rhode Island can be like a legitimate arts hub where people not only pass through, where there's not only really cool programming happening and there's third spaces being raised up, but also where we're really incubating and generating native Rhode Islanders and attracting Rhode Islanders here who are in their, let's say, early 20s, and they can grow in this state? What's missing right now?
Bartholomew Town.
Birds are disappearing from our landscape at a rapid pace. Over 1/3 of those breeding on Audubon Society of Rhode Island's wildlife refuges are in decline. Climate change has taken a toll on their migration, nesting, and food sources. While science is highlighting the problem, Audubon is working on real solutions with a plan to rapidly reduce their carbon emissions. The organization will be free of fossil fuels by 2030, with renewable energy powering Audubon's buildings, equipment, and vehicles. To shape our future, all of us must act. Learn more about Repowering Audubon, their avian research, and how you can join their fight for climate resiliency. Visit asri.org/repower. Newport Film screens the latest, critically acclaimed documentary films year-round across Rhode Island. Like a film festival, Newport Film often gets early access to films before they're available online or in the theaters. Stay up to date on their latest screening events at newportfilm.com or on Instagram @NewportFilm. Are you looking to advance in your career or explore a new field? The University of Rhode Island now offers a comprehensive portfolio of fully online programs designed to bring world-class education to you anytime, anywhere. Choose from a wide range of flexible, asynchronous programs in business and leadership, data, tech, and STEM, healthcare and pharmacy, marine and environmental science, and more. With expert faculty and innovative courses, you'll gain the skills and knowledge to thrive in today's competitive world. Are you ready to take the next step? Visit uri.edu/online and discover how URI Online can help you achieve your goals. URI Online, learn anywhere with us. Half Street Group brings a new generation's perspective to leadership communication, strategic public relations, and digital marketing. Half Street helps organizations and leaders take control of their own stories and manage their reputations. They get results for their clients by focusing on audience, message, and culture, and by leveraging their decade-long relationship with media and opinion leaders in the Ocean State and throughout New England. Join me and Half Street Group founder and president Mike Rea for a conversation every month about news of the day, the hottest media analysis, and a look behind the scenes at how impactful leaders drive conversations. Learn more at halfstreetgroup.com. As Rhode Island's first ever member-owned credit union, Navigant Credit Union has been a staple in the local business community for more than 108 years. Today, Navigant is a $3.4 billion institution serving more than 136,000 members across 25 physical branch locations. But since its founding in 1915, the mission has never changed. Navigant Credit Union's team of financial professionals have remained committed to improving the financial well-being of the families, businesses, and communities they serve across Rhode Island. Learn more at navigantcu.org.
Wow, Bill. These questions are just really no, this is a great question. I had one immediate thought, and then
Hmm.
I want to think more. But it's interesting you saying like you felt this need to go to New York. I also think this is an example where there's maybe like two sides to things. Like there's one side which is a general culture of a society, and then there's another side to it of like the infrastructure that's put into place to nourish the creative juices. And as far as like the culture, um, New York is a mess. And like I think that artists are drawn to going to New York because you've got people like what I just talked about, lying, screaming at the wall, listening to sad music. You know, I have no shame just like crying on the street in New York. Like you
That's
see
right.
people having every realm of emotion public, no shame, wearing whatever they want, It's just like there's this real like just essentially grit of life in New York City, and it's so populated and you see it constantly. And so it makes you feel um it just in the emotion in the world, which is really helpful for creative people. That being said, it's also very saturated. And so everyone's feeling like that, versus Rhode Island, you've got uh, a real opportunity to have like whatever that nook of creatives, to amplify their voices because it's less people essentially. And so what does Rhode Island need to do? Well, again, one, there's a certain amount of like I wonder if there can be a certain like acknowledgement or shift of that sort of culture, of that sort of grit in certain areas, to make people feel really comfortable with expressing themselves. That might start in schools. I mean, I certainly like would say even in my own schooling, like there wasn't any film. It was just theater. And and it's different, being in, for example, like an acting class for film as opposed to being in a theater production. Like in an acting class for film, you could be in that space where everyone like does exercises to get them out of their skin,
That's right.
So that's one thing I can think of. But otherwise, honestly, I mean, Rhode Island has unbelievable film office here that I've been in contact with all the time. Like the setting is perfect. We've got the ocean, we've got downtown. Like there's no reason not for Rhode Islanders to not film here. Um so yeah, maybe like a film society. I don't
Mm,
know. I don't know. But I definitely think that the first place to begin with is schools because once you have that, then also you can meet other people who are interested in the same things and then you start to collaborate together. And I feel like certainly with NYU in New York, like there's just so many people to choose to collaborate with. And then once you have that group of people, it becomes easier to just say like, okay, you're doing this, let's create it, you know?
yeah, I completely agree. I think it's wise of you to say that the school piece is massive. I mean, look, we see such dramatic cuts to arts and music budgets in schools. And look, let's be honest about it. There's an overemphasis on athletics in most public schools. At least I experienced that in Rhode Island, where it was great. I played soccer and this, that, and the other. But it's like,
Hmm.
it's given a lot more weight, WEIGHT, than arts and thinking outside the box necessarily. And I think there's a real need for that sort of to be revisited. And you're right to say should the seeds of planting those seeds of exercising the artist's way at an
Right.
early age,
Hmm.
really pulling from that mindset of developing a creative process. And that can be done in a lot of different places. It doesn't just have to be film or music or
Yeah.
creative writing. It can be done through design and AI. And these are hard skills that translate into any career or any sort of pathway forward. And I totally agree those seeds need to be planted early on. And as far as building Rhode Island out, yeah, we have an amazing film and television office here. We have
Hmm.
amazing music here. We have amazing visual art here. I think a lot of it's a real estate piece for people to actually be able to afford to live here. But also, it's connecting communities. I think
Yeah.
that there are a lot more people that want to find that community that just haven't found either the physical space or, like you said, the society, if you will. They can say, hey, we're all in the same mindset. Maybe many people here aren't, but we're together, and
Yeah.
raising that up, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, definitely. And once you find those collaborators, like you look at all, the famous film directors, everyone has their collaborators, the people they've worked with their entire lives,
Completely agree. So let's talk about this. You're at Tribeca. I mean, what an amazing. That must feel great.
Yeah, I'm really happy. I'm so excited. It's just June 6th is the premiere, so in a couple weeks.
What was it like when you found out that you had been a selectee?
Um it was awesome. I mean, the programmer called me, which I was nervous about when he like sent an email saying, "Can I give you a call?" I was like, "Oh God, like, is it going to be that I didn't get in?" But my roommate was like, "He's not going to call you to tell you didn't get
Right.
in." But I was sure that was the case,
Yeah.
And so I remember we had a phone call, and it was sort of like small talk, like, "What are you doing for the weekend?" Blah, 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 blah. And then it was like, "Well, why are you calling?"
Yeah.
And
Boom.
yeah, and then he just basically said he wants I want to tell you this so that you can hold off on submitting to other places, like the world premiere to be at Tribeca. And he said, you can take some time to think about it if you want. And I was like, yes, yes. He's like, well, you take a couple days. And I was like, yes, I'll take a couple days, but like, yes, 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 yes. I was just super thrilled. And then, in that New York mentality, like I literally uh went outside. I mean, I was so happy. I remember I went outside, I called my parents, I took a walk in the street and just was like, ah, um so yeah, I was pumped.
Yeah.
In short, yeah.
Correctly so, and understandably so.
And
What do you? Oh, please.
well, just the other thing about Tribeca, like why I was happy for this film to go there, um, is because one, a lot of the things that they accept have to be world premieres. So it's like, okay, that's great because I can have it premiere here, then apply Rhode Island Film Festival, another incredible film festival, et cetera, et cetera. Um, but New York, like as much as I identify with being a Rhode Islander, I really identify with being a New Yorker as well. And
Mhm.
I love New York and I want to make a lot of my movies there and like have mini New York stories. And so having that sort of like this being my like coming out movie as, an artist and my identity, I felt very good about being in New York City. And it's a great festival for the industry. There's a lot of people, like I was saying, like the investors, the, production companies, they attend those places. And that's a great way for me to meet them. And then they can help make my feature film possible.
Right. It's all a journey. It's all a pipeline, and it's a magical thing when it like starts to click and you start to get into that groove and feel like, all right, this is actually working. Such a powerful experience. So you don't have any plans. Obviously, you're not going to announce it right now. Well, I say obviously. I mean, how do I know? But you're in terms of screening this in Rhode Island. Do you think it's likely for Rhode Islanders that they ought to go somehow get into this premiere at Tribeca if they really want to see this thing, or do you suspect that if someone can't make it, they will have a chance to see it sometime here in the Ocean State?
I suspect that it will be here.
Okay,
Yes.
seems fair enough. Seems likely. Last
Yeah.
question. So, just right now, it's interesting. Like, where in New York do you live?
I'm in Flatiron.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Mm.
It's something I noticed. I was there this weekend. I was performing this weekend, and I've been a zillion times since I moved back here. I'm there pretty regularly. But something I noticed that was I found that there's a continued squeeze, it feels, of in some of the neighborhoods, I'll say this, that I used to live in, like Williamsburg and even Bushwick, but definitely Williamsburg. I noticed a lot of cafes and restaurants were seemingly desperate for work. They were closed. There were signs, hey, we need workers. We need baristas, dishwashers, whatever. And I was like, well, this is hyper capitalism in its finest form. where you literally have priced out, never mind the middle class, certainly the people who would work those types of jobs, that would want to commute to Williamsburg when there's plenty of other jobs closer to their home, perhaps. And I've started to see really the manifestation of this tidal wave. It's not gentrification, it's the access in New York, in certain neighborhoods, in certain energy spaces. It seems to have become much narrower and much more isolated. Areas that were once artistic hubs have definitely become places that the elite are now basically dominating. Now, this can be good from the standpoint of funding and building that part of your artistic portfolio and base and audience, but it also can be a challenge to reach fellow, regular, everyday 20-something-year-old New Yorkers, 30-something-year-old, 40, whatever. So how, outside of film, and as somebody who's a creative, as you're in New York right now, are you finding it difficult to network with just regular people who are like want to be your friend and are interested, or is it the city as scattered as it seems to be right now because some of these neighborhoods have become so hyper capitalist gentrified? And the parallel in Rhode Island would be Newport, where the same thing is happening, where you can't, the struggle to live in a place like Newport is real, and people are feeling more and more disconnected. Are you feeling connected to friends in New York?
I think there's a lot of reasons to, what you're saying. I think it's all true. I think a huge reason beyond, well, first of all, obviously inflation and you're right. So many, for example, Rhode Island, when Wayland Square Diner went out, like that was, I just got confused with Waverly Square Diner, which was another one in New York. That was like so sad because all of these, memories that you form growing up and everything going there. It disappeared. So in New York, I think that obviously there's a lot to do. Everything has to do with money, but I think another reason for it is just like phones. And I think it is harder to connect with people for that reason. I think that, as technology progresses, like not only, for businesses, it needs to be essentially viral, I think, to maintain, its spot in New York City. There are random places that go viral in New York and then they stay there and like people know it and they go there. And so I do think that now plays a huge part in a business's success. And then as far as socially, I think like across the board, it's becoming harder to make friends. Like worldwide. I'm not worldwide. I'll say Providence in New York. That's what I know about. I
Isn't
think
that the whole world right there?
yeah,
Providence, New York?
yeah, exactly. And that's the Rhode Island mentality for sure. And but yeah, I think it's becoming much harder in general to make friends and connect with people because everyone's just on their phones. And like I remember even 10 years ago thinking that, like with Instagram, and I love Instagram, don't get me wrong, but like, and I think that in its own way it's so wonderful because you get to share content with each other. But it's harder, I think, to go out of the box. I think it makes people like feel that they're more in a box, they're more scared about revealing parts of their identity. I think like when I'm in a waiting room at, the doctor's office, like I really try to put my phone away and just like talk to people, but it's very hard because everyone has their phone out, you know? And so in my own experience, I feel like that's the biggest deteriorator of relationships.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So malicious algorithms. It's one of the drivers of this social atomization that we're experiencing. But what brings us back together, third spaces and cultural moments, particularly in the fine arts, which is what you're in. So
yeah,
amazing work.
Thank you. And I think that you have to have hope that everyone kind of feels like that, like even when you do look up and everyone's on their phone, like you could say, hey, whatever, blah, 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 blah. and hope that like everyone as a human being also, longs for a connection.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
necessary. I just did a talk on this a week and a half ago, that exploring loneliness and how profoundly real what you just said is, that people are feeling more lonely, but also loneliness one of the amazing statistics that I found, loneliness can actually reduce your life significantly and lead to health problems. And for older adults, it's measured in a way as if you were smoking a minimum of 15 cigarettes per day. So like cardiovascular and other systemic problems arise from this. And so I think, artists and placemakers in general are in so many ways now so much more important to elevate, not just because of the cultural conversation that can happen there and the connectivity that can come on like a stimulation level, but it's possible that we're heading towards a place that who knows what's going to happen when we become more and more atomized, and stories such as yours, not to get too dramatic here, but it's a piece of how we're going to save humanity. So I thank you for the work that you do. It's extremely important, more than ever before.
Thank you so much, Bill. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like with New York, especially, you think there's so many people, and what you were saying, like atomized, like oversaturation and everything. Like I think that in general, you look around on the street and you see so many people, and you feel more lonely. I mean, that's something that people say all the time. It's like, I've never been my loneliness, even though I'm around so many people. And that's so common. But what I love to remind myself is it's like you're all in it together. Like I see New York almost as a city of like when it rains, when it rains, like everyone like goes under shelter. And it's like you're all sort of, even though everyone feels like at their height of loneliness, like we're all in it together. And
Yeah.
and that's the same, not just in New York, for sure.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Hey, good luck at Tribeca, and thanks for the time today.
Thank you so much, Bill. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for stopping by Bartholomew Town. For more content, follow me on Instagram at Bill Bartholomew.